yeah, I've seen the many young people on the premises. I think it's a great thing, great stuff you guys are doing here, and very proud of you, really. I came with some of my own young people. I'll start with the youngest, Tongai. You can stand up. He has more hair than I do. Asked him to come and take notes. Tongai, yeah, 16 years old. Then we've got Mali. Mali is Malaika's friend. They go to school together. Malaika, you can stand up. Malaika is Tongai's older sister. She's now an adult. I always remind her that whatever decision she makes now, when she's going to police, I can only be a witness. Otherwise, she has to take charge of her own life. So, yeah, those are the people I came with. Unfortunately, my wife, Anne, was not able to come. She's held up. And their older brother is also away, so he wasn't able to come. So that's who I am. Maybe, I think that's...
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. So we're going to walk the full journey. We're going to start from the beginning, from building something sustainable and successful. No theory. We want to look back how it started, how it scaled up, and where it is today. How did it all start, Patrick?
First of all, I like to speak about Patrick, other than the great introduction that Judy has given of myself. I love the outdoors because I believe we're brought onto this planet to add value. And if you stay indoors, that's a very selfish way of living your life, because the outdoors will always have lessons for you, challenges for you, and things that you should be paying attention to. So you learn so much from them. So the outdoors keep me young. Judy and I, she said 30 years, but I think she made an error. So a big error, right? So I love the outdoors. I love learning. I think that's the greatest gift of the human being, separate from other animals. We can learn and articulate and apply ourselves for the benefit of the environment, and not like other animals that simply make use of the environment to survive. We're not here to survive on this planet. So I am an economist. I studied quantitative economics, and a lot of people wonder what I'm doing in HR. So I actually didn't start an HR company. I started a company to support small businesses or medium-sized businesses. But their problem was people. And so I, very early on, was forced to understand people. First, people as the human being, and then the human being as a resource, and the human being as capital. Where it all started is quite a while ago. I think when I was 13 years old, when I was going to SMAC, Kisubi. And my mom had a shop, a corner shop, and I would often spend some time there. And I would see how, it was very near, I don't know whether many of you know Chikubo. I don't know whether Chikubo still, Chikubo. Chikubo Lane, they call it a lane, but it was just one village. And she would get stuff from there and bring to the shop, lived very near there, and sell. And what she would sell, it's those proceeds that would look after us. Our home was full of many people. it was actually very interesting because you would never know who your actual biological brother or sister was. We just had people in the house. These are your brother, your sister, and you know, the person looks very different from you, but that's not your business. So my mom looked after us, and so every time I would be in the shop. There was one time it struck me that there were some items that were not in the shop, and yet people used to ask about them. So I go to Chikubo once with the shopkeeper, and they are buying stuff, and again they're not buying these items. And once in a while when the shopkeeper was not around, the guys would come to buy stuff, and they asked me. So I knew which items, a lot of the items they asked for, and the answer was always no. So I was wondering, but if this is a shop and we're selling stuff, why don't we sell what people are asking? It's always strange to say I don't have, right? To disappoint a person. Come in to shop. So I was wondering why the shopkeeper did buy these things, and said I was not given money to buy. So I ignored it. But after a while, I was like, okay. When I went back with them, I said, but I've saved some money. I was given some, these uncles, aunties who keep giving you money. I said, why don't we buy with my money? I said, but that's not for the shop. No, you buy it. So he said, okay, these are your things, these are your things. So it was very strange. I started that way. But also because there were many people in the house, and I was the middle child. I am the middle child. And those who are middle children, you're the least priority in the house. So the priority starts with the visitors, lastborns, firstborns. Then, what is left? Yes. And even then, you have to negotiate with the maids to get a piece of the action. So because I had picked up some of that, and near us we used to have these mandazis and stuff. So I would go and get what they would call factory damage, the ones that had holes, aerated, but they were still fresh. So I would get those and enjoy. So I had money, so I wouldn't care whether there was when the bread, we didn't have sliced bread then, remember? They would just pluck. So if a guy came and plucked it the wrong way, the remains of the bread would be very little for you. So, but even bread was really a priority. It was usually sweet potatoes, which acted as bread. Posho, nice baked posho slices. When life improved, you put some Blue Band on those slices. Yes, and slices of sweet potatoes. You should try it. Very healthy. So I learned very early on to appreciate where you are in life. So when I went to SMAC, I went both with money and some goods. So I went to the extra soap because that was like in year 2, second year. Because first year, S1, S1, we all ran out of soap somehow. And yet we needed soap. So I would always have soap, but even when there was no cash flow in the school, the nearby village shops, at least, they needed soap. So I had my Mukwano soap, these bars. I don't know how many people, maybe talking Greek to some people, these long bar soap. So when you go and sell, and you have your pocket money. So I learned very early on how to sell an item and get some little money extra to survive. And so many stories when I was on campus. Guild Canteen was a very popular place. And there was only one pool table. And it was always breaking down. So I found a way of importing the pool tables. I didn't understand importing, so I made so heavy losses in that exercise. Learned my lessons, but when the table arrived, it made lots of money. And because we were very young, that time I could only bank with Greenland Bank. I think it was Greenland Bank.
No one here knew Greenland Bank, no.
Yes, and because Greenland Bank would allow, I think it was less than 21 years. 21 years old, I think, was the maximum for banks. So Greenland Bank would allow less than 21. So then I was, I think, 19. So I needed an account because they were asking for money to send, and I didn't know how to send. So I opened an account. I could put some money there. So those were very interesting times. That's also, I also had an adventure when the Rwandese in Uganda went back, RPF, when they captured 1994. I think I was in second year. And a lot of my friends were like, there's lots of business opportunities. So I, again, from my reserves, from the guild canteen and all, bought a Diana full of milk. At the border, Katuna, there's a guy with 2 trucks of milk. So I'm like, I need to get to Kigali before this guy. Long story short, I had to run away from the owner of the truck because the 2 trucks arrived as I arrived, and there was not enough market for all his and mine. Why I had to run away from him is that I didn't know where to put the milk. And the guy was looking for me that he's charging me per day. And I was like, dude, you can see I'm not selling anything. He's like, well, you get your stuff off my truck. Now there was another problem. How could I? So I just disappeared from the guy. I said, you find a solution from, you have milk at least, go and find a way. So, yeah, all those stories. Of course, I'm doing it while on campus. I nearly failed to finish campus because of those escapades. But I always had friends because I would come with some money and I would take them out and, they would be writing notes. So when time for exams would come, we would spend, when they rest, you start reading. You read up to the exams because for them they are finished. So you have to read from like 1 a.m. all through. You're drinking a lot of this coffee and your feet in cold water, and sometimes you're really, but just trying to survive. Like, this is how life is. There's no complaints. And then we passed and left campus. I did some research because I was looking for a job and I always wanted to go to more difficult areas. Then, I don't know how many of you remember Joseph Kony in the north. Yes. I think he lasted a bit in our news. But when he had just started, there was a lot of projects in the north, and he was very active there. And people didn't want to go there. And so these programs that we're looking to find, but we are told there is activity there. They've deployed money and resources. They don't know how to go and check. So they're looking for people to go. So I'm like, if there's premium, I can go. And I was the youngest. They wanted experienced guys. I was like, okay, you look for the experienced guys. No, not you. So they wanted 10 years experience, and I was fresh out of campus. So they were like, okay, you find a team. And then I was a team leader now. it was a very interesting. I made some money from that because the daily allowances were very, very good. But we also were young, young. When people are running from a place, you're driving towards it. You want to go and check the villages, whether these guys are not just running around with rumors. So, made some money. Did my master's in economics, quantitative economics. I came back because I had been seeing what was in the north. I'd been there for about 8 months. So I knew the challenges that were happening in the rural areas. So for my master's degree, I did a thesis on, it was a master's of science on microfinance, rural finance. Is it a question of access or cost? So most of the arguments in the news were cost. We need to give more cheap money and stuff like that. But from my study, it showed access. And even later on, I found that you find people like in Chikubo, because I knew all these places now. They don't have access to money, so they can borrow 10% per day. Now, it sounds ridiculous for those who are borrowing 100 million, but a person who is borrowing 1 million, which is even very high, some are borrowing 10,000. So 1,000 shillings extra to access 10,000. 10,000, you're wondering what 10,000 is for. That's to buy some tomatoes to put in your stall and start the day. So at the end of the day, you remove 1,000, you pay the interest, the 10,000 you pay, you remain with something. And those tomatoes that are not sold are your food also. So that access was a big problem. But fast forward, I did programs with UNDP as well, because I'd had all this experience with rural settings, business community. At 28, I was managing a program. But I could only tell the people who were interviewing me, not the people in office, that I was 28, because most of the guys were 40 and above. So I always used to leave my beards to grow. Very few. But to accelerate, when did I start Q sourcing? When we had a program, UN program, managing a lot of, it was a national program. So we're setting up institutions, centers to support the private sector in all over Uganda. When that program was coming to an end, developed a new program of how to establish these into consultancy centers to support the business community in the rural areas. But I didn't feel like the top leadership understood, because they wanted to keep this as a program. And I was like, no, it can transform into a private operation. Unfortunately, I was young. I was not yet 30. And the guys who were managing these programs were above 60. So after a while, I realized that I think we're on different paths. And remember, I'm this very impatient person because of my past. So I left and said, let me go and set up one myself. So that's how Q sourcing started. And this year we're celebrating 20 years.
That's really, really impressive. Now, Patrick has climbed all the mountains nearly in Africa. He climbs mountains as a hobby. Yeah. So, and that just shows you the kind of person he is, the resilience, the effort, because for me, the reward and the risk is not worth it. So I would never climb a mountain, but that's neither here nor there. Patrick, the foundation is usually very important. How you start is important, and it determines how you move on. When you look back now, what would you not do? For people who are starting up now, what mistakes should they avoid? what would you avoid doing now, looking back, if you had to start over again?
There's so many things I don't regret. However, I would say maybe 2 or 3 things. Number one, you see how we talk about a successful woman. Behind a successful woman is a great man. Yes, it's not the other way around. And the other way around. It's all about selecting the right partner. I say that because marriage is like a business. A business is you're starting a family. Selecting partners, business partners, is a very, very important step. And you pick the wrong partner, your business will only go as far as the two of you will be on the same page. So if you pick the wrong partner, a partner whose interests are short-term, there is no way, however much you pray, the only thing you should pray for is the partner. So when you go on your knees to pray for the business, ask God to give the partner wisdom, like he gave you. Because that old English adage, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. That is the true definition in business. So selection of a partner. I assumed that I needed partners who would add their man hours to mine, so we just needed more hands on board, and forgot that you can employ hands on board. Partners are the ones with whom you look to which mountain you're going to climb. And if I want to climb a mountain and I select Judy as my mountain climbing partner, you can see where we're headed, right? It ain't happening, right? So that for me, Judy, is number one. And it may sound complicated, and yes, it is. You have to fix that. If you're not ready, do not. Do not. It's just like if you're not ready, if you're not willing to put in the time to look for the right partner, don't get married.
Correct.
You know, there's this thing of tunalabileyo, we shall see. Huh? The good thing you're repeating yourselves. So you understand what that can lead you to. So selecting a partner, and it's tough. It's tough. Find the knowledge. Your praying community. Pray. And pray for God to give you the wisdom. Not to give you the partner. To give you the wisdom. Because the decision is yours. The people are there. So God may actually put that person in front of you, but it's you to make the decision. So ask for the wisdom. The second thing is put aside your assumption of knowledge of what the paying customer wants. Don't think you know what they want. You know how to, when you're in business, what you know how to do is you know how to deliver what the client wants. Not that you know what they want. No. You know how to do it. So find out what they want. I'm sure, I'm not going to teach Judy how to do her business, but I'm sure those who come to you for real estate are not looking for buildings, whereas someone would think that you sell buildings. Find out what the people who have the money to pay for that want. And that is what you should focus on. So I was fortunate, as you can imagine, Q sourcing, I mentioned to you, there is nothing in my background till then that involved human resource. The closest to it was that I managed a team of about 30 people in my program. That was the closest. And actually the first assignment I was given was recruitment. And I was wondering, that is a job for the manager. That's what I thought. I said, no, we want you to do it. I said, how? Why don't you do it yourselves? We want you to do it. Then I said, okay, I'll do it, but I want you to do it because we see what you did for the program you left. Because I set up the program and I resigned after getting the person to replace me, handing over everything and teaching them what the ropes, right? And so my first client was Pearson Longman. I don't know how many people now on this. I don't know whether Pearson Longman is on the phone, but they had books, the Longman books. So that was the first client of mine. They wanted a country manager, and they, I used to talk at different donor conferences, and I think they were bringing in books, and they wanted, I think donors were supporting them, were paying for books that they were going to supply to Uganda, so they wanted a country manager. That's how they got to know me. So yes, I agreed, but I also asked them, how are you going to pay me? So they're the ones who showed me how to bill. How to bill for human resource, recruitment, 1 month's pay. Okay, how much are you going to pay them? So everything they were telling me. All I knew was how to do it, how to get, I asked, what kind of person do you want? What are they going to be doing? Because that one I knew. Yeah. What do you want them to do? Where will they work? What are the deliverables? How does success look like? How does failure look like? And they told me. So
let me cut you short there. So let's move from hustle to structure. Yeah. Because right now you're hustling and you're really gambling and fidgeting at this point. So at what point did you decide that, you know what, I need some structure in this business? What broke first? Was it time? Was it effort? Was it people? When did you realize, okay, now the business really needs some structure for it to be able to take off?
So because I was focused on the clients, we never marketed. They would always look for us. So if we remember Barclays was expanding. Yes. Barclays had just acquired Nile Bank, yeah. So they wanted to recruit nationwide staff, yeah. About 2,000 people. So we bidded with PwC, Ernst & Young, and a couple of others, and I shared with them what I had done before, okay. The program I'd set up, and they was like, you're the guy we want. Wow. But the person who selected me had come from Dubai. The local team was like, we know this guy. Where has he done this work from? But the guy came and saw what we'd done. So I was like, this guy knows what we want. Yeah. So they gave us the job. We used to work almost 24 hours a day because I was managing literally everything. But after a while, I started to train some of the guys because I wanted to go and rest. So I had to show them how to do the stuff, right? And now I simplified it in such a way because we used to do mass recruitment and then water it down to those whom we wanted to meet. So I delegate the mass recruitment, mass interviews, then bring it down to the final bits. So I had to write it down. And that's when I realized that for me to have some rest, I needed to put systems in place. From this stage to this stage, who handles it, what needs to be done, from this stage to this stage, what needs to be done, like that. And once we set it up, we actually did it so fast. They had given us 6 months. We gave them in 4 months. We told them we are ready for you. They were not ready for us, so they kept giving us more work. Okay, now you go and get us the offices around the country, which I'd done before. Yes. So we did that, set up the offices, and so yeah. So it's the realization that you can't do everything. You've got to trust others, but trust is not enough. You've got to show them how to do it, write it down, and align on how it needs to be done, and that's how the systems came up. Now, of course, Remember, if those who have seen our website, we're in 5 countries and 8 companies. So all these guys have to do the same thing. If it's supplying a service to someone in Dar es Salaam, Moshi, Nanyuki in Kenya, or Migori in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, or in Kigali, or here in Kampala, or Hoima, same. So we started with those projects and just started replicating. I may be speaking and it may sound like it all was smooth, but it's the hardest thing to do because you're second guessing yourself. A person is looking at you and saying, no, that doesn't work. And you're like, but I did it. And it worked. So you did it because it was your days. What do you mean, our days? You show me how to do it differently with a better result, and I'll listen. Yes. So, of course, that raised its own challenges because people may have the blueprint, but they choose not to read it. So now you had to incorporate rewarding based on the result plus the process. Because if you only reward it based on the result, any road would lead to the end. But you wanted them to repeat the process. There was a flip side. Some of these processes were a little bit too slow for clients who were smaller. So you also had to go and share your experience. So initially it was just talking about my experience and also sharing with others, other managers who go and share their experience. But now we have to document it. Document it and allow them to test it, and then you go and see. Now you have to visit. If the window is like this, right, pushing it out, yes, it's the same act, but there's issues of safety. How that one is built is cautious of safety. But after a while, there's an inspection by one of the clients and say, that office doesn't take care of the safety aspects because someone can drop out. And you're like, how? Because you didn't see that there's a difference. Because you didn't visit the site. So all those details now, you have to, it's not just the blueprint, you have to teach what do you look out for. We then realized also that whether you're hiring people with degrees, a lot of times it may not matter. What matters is the experience of the person. Now, there's an assumption that because you have a degree, you can be a leader. If you've never led, whether from your home, to your school, to your friends, to a social setting, how are you going to be a leader? You don't understand what decision-making is all about. Remember, one of the biggest challenges we faced is a situation happening somewhere in a rural setting, say Tororo, Uganda. You are in an office in Dar es Salaam. You're in Dar es Salaam, you have gone to visit, and the person is reading to you a situation, and you're like, that's not complicated. However, this person does not understand the process of making a decision. Now, this I realized very late, that making a decision is assumed to be just an automatic thing. It is not. A person needs to know that when you decide, it's 0 or 1, or nothing. And nothing also equals 0. And if you're going to make a decision for 1, it means you're going to act to the next step. But if it's not very clear that in your role, your decision-making is around these areas, and these are the information points, the data points that you need to use to make a decision, it's going to be a struggle for you to come to those points. So building systems is a very, very difficult process because the environment is always changing, and then there's this resource, this peg in the wheel called the human being, who has things that happen in the head that you can never predict. If I have this cup, I know its capacity, I know the size, I measure the circumference. If I'm plugging it, I'm building a holder, I know how to measure. You can't measure a human being. That's true. You can't. So all those affect systems building.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Now, moving on from there, it seems like the business was really picking up and building very, very fast. So you started making money very quickly before the systems were really and structures were bedded down and grounded, and now the money comes in. Now, when the money comes in, and there's quite a lot of it, and it finds systems which are not quite grounded, just talk to us about your financial planning. How did you handle money, profitability, revenue, your money, business money, clients' money? How did the financial piece play out? Because, these contracts can attract quite a lot of money from what you're saying. I mean, 2,000 people, even if you're charging $100 per person, for a startup, that's a lot of money. Yeah. How did you handle that?
It's very interesting. 3 things I'll highlight. One is, while we're making a lot of money, we're losing so much. Because from my history, I had never learned how to keep money. I had learned how to make it. I would make loads, but with massive holes. And I can't explain where those holes would crop up. One of them was because you're growing so fast, you say you're going to MTN to hire a manager from there. You look for another big brand. Knight Franklin, go and get. You bring these guys on, and these guys are used to operating in a corporate world. You're a startup. They have no idea what to do. You want to build systems. They're asking you for the systems. And you're looking at each other and like, I thought you knew. That's what you're here to do. Meanwhile, this conversation is going on and you're paying. Yes. Top dollar. Yeah. You say, bring an online system, platform, we'll sort it out. You, of course, go and fork out money and pay. The system comes, someone needs to install. Someone needs to align with your own operations. Back to these guys. Can you do it? No, it's done from South Africa. Like, what do you guys do in office? Now, no offense to these guys. So, timing. In business, timing is everything. And when I say timing is everything, I mean timing is everything. You can jump out of that window and it's safe, or you can jump out of that window to your death. When you jump out of that window and it's safe, it means there's a person who is passing around with a platform. And at that time you jump, you land on the platform. That is safe. You who comes after, the platform has left. So you have to be very cautious of what, and I'm using such an outrageous example, but timing is so critical that you have to first understand where are you. Now, I didn't know. Remember, I was just an entrepreneur. Hustling. I was just a hustler. Business is a science. You have to study it. Now, I have a business in my hands. There's money coming in. I want to take it out and go away on holiday. I can't. It has to stay in the business. These people are eating the money, literally eating the money. I'm not taking any money. I feel I still am doing even more. Right? You brought these people to offload. They're just adding more questions, making you second guess yourself. Is this really what I want? You can't even gear down because you can't terminate a contract. Yes, of course. So I see Rosalie there. Rosalie was on our journey. She was our counselor. You get a consultant and they become your counselor because you're running mad in the business. But, so yes, we're making all this money and you're spending it so badly because you don't know where to place the money for return. You don't know how to apply it. You think you're the best decision maker in regards to spending that money. You realize you don't know. All you knew was how to start the business. Now you're well out of your depth. 2 is you don't know when to say stop. Like, this is a wrong hire. We need to shake hands and you leave. You get to a point where you're now seeing the zeros have reduced so much that you can see in 3 months, I'm going to struggle because you've been spending more than what's been coming in. And the worst bit is to look at bank balance. If any of your accountants gives you a report that our bank balance is good, and that's a reflection of your performance, you're in trouble. That's all I can tell you. Because it brings me to the third bit. Tracking which accounts are losing you money. When you get a big account, it comes with big risk. Risk follows, costs follow risk. If you know how to mitigate the risk efficiently, then you lower the cost. If you do not know, that cost will spin out of control. So the big account should always come in when you understand the risks associated. If you don't, it's rolling the dice. It could swing anywhere. So those big accounts came in, and I actually remember walking out of some, and my staff threatened to resign. Some actually resigned. But for me, it was like offloading a big headache. The last bit I want to share there is you have to know that you don't know. And always start the day with that assumption and that position. And ask those who have been through what you're talking about, who have done it well, and who have experience to share. Not those who have Googled and summarized, you can use AI now, and regurgitate it back to you. You're going to crash. Because these people are the ones who are going to tell you how painful it's going to be. I don't think AI talks about that. I don't think AI will tell you the cost it's going to have. This situation I'm talking about is so bad because, remember, because you have these big clients, your shareholders, your partners are asking, but you're earning all this money and there are no dividends. You're like, guys, I have a problem in here. Like, no, you are the problem. So how am I the problem? Why are you paying them that money? I'm like, okay, you come and do it. Actually, maybe I should share this. There was a point when I was told, you are the problem, so we need to pay you to leave. And I was like, yes, that would be a relief. Please, take it over. But they never came. So I had to, again, have you ever been promised help and the help doesn't come? You know how far deeper you have to dig to get back to where you were before. Not even to move forward, just to where you were before. It's so difficult. It's such a painful thing, and I actually, when people tell me they're going to start a business, that's the only thing I tell them, that you have no idea how difficult that point is. A person asks you, so what's the problem? I have not paid payroll this month. It's $50,000. Say, no problem. I'll give you 100,000. Ah, okay. You're like, God is good. Go on. 1 week, 2 weeks, payroll. Phone, not picking. I'm sorry, I had to travel, and like, dude, man, that's not part of the conversation. Don't give me 100, give me 50. 50 ain't coming. Now remember, you had been in a thought process of how to get that money. Maybe to pay in installments, to negotiate with different suppliers. Remember, you also have a home.
Yes.
You cannot go with a story. They see you coming back home smiling. Sometimes there's no smile. They're wondering, this guy, grumpy. Now, that process, you've got to go back. Sometimes you've even forgotten where you're at. So you have to go back and start. But all this time, you've got to stay up. And one thing I can say is, whatever you do as a business owner, never assume work is going to stop until you sell your business. It is your business. It's like those children there. How do I stop saying I'm a parent? Right? Until, even when they get married and go away, still your business. So, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, plan your life to support this business. And just, I'm sure you have siblings, some have children. When you're growing them up, teach them how to survive on their own. Just like a business, teach it how to live on its own. All those big accounts, can those accounts be delivered without you? If they can't, high risk. Yeah. When I say high risk, it could take you down. Read as many autobiographies, and you'll read and find that was the point that almost took down the business. All of them. Dell, GE, yes, even Microsoft, yes. Apple, all of them.
Wow, thank you, Patrick. A lot of wisdom and some really good nuggets there. So, the business has really, really grown, transformed, financially very stable, top HR firm in the country, and yourself have evolved as a leader. So, 2 questions. The first one is, what does a financially stable organization or business look like? And how have you evolved as a leader from the hustler to now a leader of a multi-million-dollar business, which is across borders? What has that transformation looked like?
Thanks, Judy. That's a very scary statement. That we are very successful and very stable. I don't know. I'm always waiting for the next storm. One, financial stability. If you have to depend on your own resources to deliver a project, you're not stable. It sounds ridiculous, right? If you have to depend on your own money to grow, you're not stable.
So if you're putting your hand in your pocket to fund the business,
you're not stable. Why?
Yes, you own as a CEO.
You own as a CEO. And it goes on to even the business. If the business cannot grow without using its own reserves, it's not stable. Why? You have to be in a position where you are looked at as the person to do the job, separate from the opportunity. The opportunity is seen by both you and financial institutions, such that you are a partner with them, or they are a partner with you to run the project and both of you make money. If they can't go in with you, you're not stable, because you are restricted by your own capacity. Your own reserves should be for you as a business to survive, pay your, like COVID hit, those that didn't have reserves did not see the 2 years. Simple and clear. If you don't have food, again, I don't know how many of us are back in those days, those big kibos in every home, granaries. If you don't have reserves of food in your home, when famine hits, you're out. And there is a saying that you can only learn from the lessons you survive. If a lesson takes you out, there's no learning, you're dead. So never wait till that point. So if you're relying on your reserves, you will get there. But if you ask a question of the project, there's an opportunity to build this place, this structure, we're going to use it for worship harvest, they're going to rent it, there's all these opportunities. Don't use your money. Go to a bank and present. If the bank sees it as an opportunity, together you do the business. You make money, they make money, that's how, and the money you make, you add to your reserves. I hope you're understanding me. At the start of the project, your reserves are, say, $1,000. At the end of the project, your reserves should be greater than $1,000. There should never be a situation where you're waiting for payments for you to first refill your reserves. Because what if, there's that what if, remember? What if there are elections and the bank transfers cannot happen? What if? As I said, you can only learn from the lessons you survive. Leadership. That was a tough one because, as you know, as entrepreneurs, as business people, you think you know much. You think you know everything. But I'm always learning. I always like to learn. So there's a concept called post-heroic. A lot of you, if you're business owners, you feel you're the hero in the business. Founder. No, but founder is good, but hero. Without you, you're the one who comes over the hill, the chariot, to save the business. So you need to get off that and know that it's your team that needs to do it. And you need to listen to your team. The final decision, yes, is made by you, but you need to listen to them. So if you choose to hire people because they can't ask you questions, then, you're the hero. So when you're in hospital, so is the business. And that, for me, was very important. And it also taught me how to be a leader in the house. Very difficult, by the way. Those young ones are hearing. You have to listen to them, but they know you make the final decision. But you ask of their opinion. And their opinion cannot be Googled position. You have to have those conversations. failure is a constant. And why I say a constant is that you need to fail every time, but people need to understand it's always possible. It's always possible to fail, but let's try. Yes. Let's try. So you need to know that people need to try. It's very difficult, Judy. And even me as a person, I've had to learn. To learn. But you know, if you don't do sport, if you don't do these team-based activities, some of us, the mountaineering is a bit more risky sometimes because you put your life in someone else's hands and they guide you and you have to listen, ask questions. The person is not just guessing. They're telling you exactly where you need to pass, at what time, when there are those avalanches and stuff could take you out. It's really building people around you who know a lot more than you. And it's actually a great experience. I just need to urge you to, those who feel their ego will be bruised, it's nice to be in a room when you're listening, not just me talking. I'm just sharing with you my problems, so it's good for me. But when you're in a room and you're listening to people speak about something you're learning from, that's a great, great experience. It's a good time spent. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we're very fortunate. We belong to a church whereby we're taught to lead right from the start. In this church at Worship Harvest, you don't have a choice. You have to start, as soon as you land here, you start leading. So we're lucky, we're blessed that leadership comes naturally for us. And that's one thing that we're really grateful to our shepherd Apmo for. And then my last question, then I'll open it up to everybody. And of course, I think there's a lot of similarities here between what Patrick is saying and the business training and the business leadership, the tiered businesses that we're going to be doing. There's a lot of similarities here. The tier one from the foundation, the founder alone, hustling, moving into tier two, where now a few structures come in, a few systems. Then you move to tier three, where you have a bit of financial stability and so on and so forth. So there's a big connection between the Business Connect, BLN Connect, and the business training that we will be doing later on. So this has been really useful. My last question to you before I open it up to everybody is, now you're stable, or relatively stable, but I know that the business is now stable. How do you sustain that stability and that success? Because it's very easy to get intoxicated with your own success and really squander it, because you've either failed to manage growth, failed to manage money, failed to manage fame and success. How do you maintain it and sustain it?
So as I mentioned before, we're making 20 years now. This year, my goal is, how do we learn from what we did well? How do we institutionalize these? How do we put in place a system that people can be allowed to introduce even better ways of working because of the environment changing? And how does ownership get built into all these processes? Every day I tried, let me just back up. I tried, by the way, about 2 years ago, I tried to hire a CEO to replace me. And it was such a failed activity that I realized well into the process that I'm still going to be doing the work because I've not set the stage for that. Right? And it was such an eye-opener, and that's when I started working on it. Succession. Succession planning is a very hot topic in Uganda. But I don't know whether people understand that process. It's such a complicated exercise because you have to, remember, you have to institutionalize what worked best because you don't want to lose that memory. You have to incorporate flexibility for change. You have to introduce those protocols. And that speed of change has got to be in line with the speed of learning. Because if the change is faster than people are learning, it's going to cripple the institution. So how? What we're doing is, one, we're going back in time, and I was looking recently into my files and seeing some files that are as far back as 2007. And I saw how some of the processes were even better than they are now. And I realized, where did we lose this? But there is no institutionalized way of saying this is the repository for the processes. If you want to change, these are the protocols. Because remember, if Judy has been a great manager, people come and listen to you. If you change, if a process is 10 steps, but Judy excels with using 6, the person you train will pick the 6 at best, but most likely they will pick 4. Those people now also train someone else. The other person picks 2. This is a 10-stage process. So you, as the CEO, still think it's a 10-stage process. Are you hearing me? Yes. And yet the clients are saying, but we only see 2. I'm like, no, you are a problematic client. You don't read. But then when you go through, you realize that's what happened. So that is now what we're really trying to do. It's a very difficult exercise because you have to ask people the silly questions. When you wake up, what do you do? What's the first thing you do? The person's like, I brush my teeth. No, you get out of bed. That's the first thing. How do you get out of bed? For those who are above 60, and those who are below 30, the process is different. So yes, the process is different. So if the process is different, and you have people who are above 60, and those who are below 20, in that exercise, you've got to document it. Don't just go to brushing teeth. Itemize. That's the complicated bit. And test it. And have observers to question it. The second thing is we're setting up an in-house academy. This academy is to train everyone who's getting into the company, into the business, such that there's still 10. Don't ask Judy, right? Go into the academy and get tested, that you've understood the process, such that the person who is deployed to work with Judy still follows 10. Even though Judy herself follows 6, you're trained to follow the 10, and the 6 that the person you're supervising follows may be different from the 6 you're following, but at least all the 10 are used. That academy will also help us to get feedback on what is obsolete and what is relevant. So that's the continuity. The last bit is we are spinning off the different business units to be owned by the people, not owned by way of you're the owner and you can do what you want with it. No. The results of that entity, of that balance sheet, determine how much you take home. Right. Not just your salary. So they have skin in the game. They have skin in the game. So that's what we're doing now. We understand one of the challenges that we are facing is that there's not many reference points on the continent. And when you read books, they'll be telling you about these kind of institutions, these kind of processes happening in the US, in the Western world. In the Western world, the bigger difference is that there's lots of skills. Here you have to build your skills. Here you have to learn your processes. The environments can be different because not just the culture. The culture is a blend of so many things, the behaviors of people. When someone doesn't come to work in Uganda, doesn't mean they're going to die. They probably cannot come to work for a month, and they go to their relatives' place and survive. That's not going to happen in the West, right? So when you're dealing with behavioral factors, you have to factor those things in. So you have to incentivize the person, not just to come for the paycheck, but there's, impact. What are you selling? What exactly do I get? What value? And those are all things we have to look at, which are not, they're not really, there's not many documents to make reference to. Yeah.
Sorry, and one more question before I said I'd finished, but there's just one more question. Is it necessary to partner in order to scale? If you want to scale, how important is partnership in trying to scale the business?
So, yes and no. You only partner when you're at that point that you and the partner will get value. If you partner at a point where you still feel you can do it, then you will abuse the relationship. It's like running a relay. The person needs to know that you're running, you need to know you're running 100 meters. You better not get over yourself and say, but I can do the second on my own. So there's not going to be a partnership. You may be running together, but you're running. So just to bring it back home, there's so many things that make a business successful. And when you're scaling, scale basically is that you're managing higher risk. Higher risk levels, the consequences are a lot higher and heavier. So there's shared appreciation of that risk. There's shared mitigating factors. There's shared value from the return. It's not just that when you're partnering, you ask yourself, okay, I'm earning 100,000. When we partner, we'll be able to make 500,000 and then 50-50 to 50,000. It's not just like that. You've got to go into the granular details of what value is the other person going to bring, what are you also going to bring? And together, will you fit the bill for where you're scaling to? We've done lots of, I've had failed partnerships, not just the shareholding, but also with foreign companies where you feel that this person is coming to add value, and yet you find yourself still carrying the weight, and you're asking yourself, but what's this for? And if you don't have exit clauses, that's where God comes in, right? Something happens to the other guy. And I was like, I'm tired of this. And you're like, Fuchs, really? You start saying, oh, really? Are you? Why? I'm going to miss you. No, so you don't want to get into that position. So it's very important. As I said before, my first statement is selecting partners is so critical. Again, go read. The first thing I asked, go and research about the large companies, the growing companies, local and foreign, about scaling, getting big contracts, the damage it can do to you when you're not ready. Second is selecting partners. Not enough is said about it. I don't know whether business school teaches it enough, but those two things, massive. And maybe my last one there is this family. Every time you go home, they're the ones who take care of you. Your family are those who are at home when you come back from your battles. That's your family. Not these blood relations, no. Those at home. when you're in hospital, those who are concerned, okay, the ones whom you owe money also are concerned, but those who relate with you not because of the financial relationship. That's your base. That's your base camp. If your base camp is under attack, there is no way you're scaling. So you've got to settle home base without compromise. Because every morning you leave and it's not settled. Every morning you leave, you don't know, but you're weaker. Every morning. And our business of entrepreneurship and business management is intellectual. I don't see anyone who can manage the physical activity out there. Casual labor. So there's no casual labor here. Mental. And that mental space needs to be rebooted every evening. So that's so important. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right, I'll open up the floors now for questions.
First and foremost, thank you so much, Mr. Mbonye. I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared today. I've learned a lot. I wanted to ask, how important is casting a vision when it comes to building a business, casting your vision to your team when it comes to building a business and scaling it? Because there's something you shared about you stepping back from a couple of deals, and some people ended up resigning. And I'm wondering whether it was because maybe they didn't understand the vision. And I say it from experience. First of all, I apologize in ashes because I think I worked for QSOS in 2008, 2009, and I'm one of those people who didn't understand the vision, and I ended up leaving. So I'm wondering how important it is. Maybe I don't want to make the same mistake, thinking that this is something that we downplay as we're starting businesses. You bring people on your team and you don't really, the vision is in your head, and you haven't really set it out to the people on the team. So how important is it, and is it something that you actively do? How has it helped you to scale?
Please go. We can take about 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mbonye. My name is Kayaga Seremba, and I am following in your footsteps, Baby Management Consulting Firm. Question about how you keep going how do you keep going and energized in spite of wrong turn, mistakes, losses, wrong partnerships? How have you stayed in the game? The second question is, how have you been able to achieve commitment to results across multiple people, multiple departments, and multiple countries?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for giving us your story and telling us about your business. My question is, how do you train your recruiters to be able to assess or to run interviews, especially in the niche market of oil and gas? How did you do that, even though they had probably never done that work themselves? So how do you train your recruiters to recruit? Yeah.
Can I add one more? You actually spoke to this, but I wanted you to elaborate on it. When you're talking, your story basically reads like someone who has taken advantage of so many opportunities, like you've seen opportunities and seized them. And sometimes I think, business is to those who are quick to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. But at the same time, we are also told you need to build structure. So how you balance saying yes, as in going forward, with also being able to have structure backing up what you're doing.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, thank you. My memory is not so good, so I think 4 are good for now. Importance, yeah? Okay. Importance of sharing your vision with your team. When we started, there was a lot of talk about don't tell the team too much, they may run away with your vision. But that's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. If a person is going to repeat what you're doing, then you shouldn't be doing it. And if they do it even better than you, you should be employed by them. Okay? It's right? So that's the number one thing. So it's very important to share this. And I have what I call CEO memos that I share with the whole team. And I share with the whole team because I don't want the managers to tailor it to their understanding. Then it becomes their vision. Right? You want it to be as clear as possible. What you also highlight is that it's a journey we're on. I'll keep you posted on where we're at. But where we're headed is north. I like to use the mountain. We're going to climb this mountain. It's 7,000 meters. These are the dangers. These are the risks. This is what we need to be prepared for. We want to grow our business this size, this revenue. These are the opportunities, potential. These are the risks. This is where we're at. So if you don't tell them where you're at, how do they know how much effort, right? And if you don't tell them where they're going, how much do you want them to contribute? So you've got to tell them. You've got to show your accounts to them. That, as you can see, some of you are, you have to. Which accounts? If you're one of those who has a couple of copies of versions, version 1, version 2 for the same period, then you choose which version to share, but remember, that's the version they're working with. So if you show the wrong one, that's the one they're going to work with. And remember, it's not vision only for your staff. It's for all the stakeholders involved. All of them. So, yes, we do it, as I told you. The other thing is, how do you keep going? I have a personal, I don't know what English word they call it, but I believe in living life. Because whether you want it or not, you will die one day. Right? So live it till you die. And there's a recent person I had, I don't remember the guy. He said, live life till you die, but make sure you don't confuse the two. Okay? Don't confuse the two, meaning stay focused on living and don't get diverted by the fact that you will die one day, because that is going to happen. So simply live life. And to your question, how do I keep going? For me, what I believe is just stay up, as in stay focused. Stay focused. When you're in downtime, yeah, you're in downtime, but preparing for uptime. Avoid people who say life is short, by the way. Because those are the ones who are given 90 years and they are dependent on those who worked so hard. Training recruiters. So, one thing that we need to learn is that a lot of times you think you're teaching people, but it's not, that's not a teaching process. It's a learning process. It's the person who is receiving the information that chooses what to pick. It's not what you're telling them that is being transferred. No, it's what they're understanding and articulating and learning. That's the result of that exercise. So when you say you're teaching recruiters, what we do is we train them on our processes. Processes is you're going to source from this space, this sample size. These are the marketplaces you're going to pick these people from. And then you relate with them as to, if they have children, you ask, if you're going to leave your child at home with someone, what kind of person would you want to leave your child with? Let them articulate. Some of them maybe don't articulate, so you help them to articulate. So that's because they are going to be making decisions. Remember, we talked about decision making. So you have to teach people how to make decisions. That's what you're teaching, actually. What constitutes a decision? The process is not dependent on you. It's dependent on them. If you ask me to find a hall of how many people are here, maybe 100, don't know, and I go and choose to find a hall that has like that down, that cafe, all right? It's a hall. So you need to teach me that the information I need to gather is how many people, are they going to be seated, are they going to be standing? All that information you're going to give me, I have to find it. So you need to help me to understand that the people have to be comfortable, it's going to last so long, and this is the process that you need to go through so that you get the right thing. Once they learn how to do that, they'll always do a good job, because situations always change. So that's pretty much what we do, scenario setting. Last was seeing opportunities and maintaining structure. As you may have noticed, I had my fingers in many things, but over the past 20 years, I've not been in many things. I've shrunk to those few things. So what I do now is, whatever opportunity I look at, it's an opportunity to grow the current. Not look at Judy's in real estate. I look at her balance sheet, look at her cash flow statement, look at the bank balance and say, there is the next opportunity. That's not growth. That's diversion. Yeah.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis. Thank you, Patrick, for what you've just shared. I think the issue of partnership is really a very important learning. I think many people are starting businesses. One of the biggest challenges is you want to partner with someone because of the skills they have, and yet you can actually recruit that. So it's really a big learning, and thank you so much. I have two questions. The first one is, if you are to start all over again, other than the partnership issue, what are the one or two things that you do differently if you are to start basing on what you know now? Then the second question, expansion is normally a big challenge for businesses, especially outside Uganda. What's your framework for expanding to other countries? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, sir. I'm glad I made it. My name is Davey. From your story, entrepreneurship, battle wounds and scars, what's your recovery process to get back in the game? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Are there any books you would recommend on partnerships and scaling?
Hello. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you so much for your time. You talked about when you were starting and trying to structure. you sourced managers from bigger brands. So that needed bigger salaries, that caused a financial imbalance in your system. So I was wondering, if someone is doing a startup, how would you advise them to source the people that will help them?
Thank you, Patrick. My question is about on partnerships. What are the key things to look out for, especially in regards to, let's say, exit strategies for someone? Because sometimes, from experience, a partner may ask for what they put in at the start, and yet the business has devalued, and they did not actually even put in any time or any knowledge or basically advice into the business. Thank you.
Do we take some more, or we'll go with those?
Can you answer this for now?
Yeah, there are quite a few. Starting again, what is critical? As I said, I wouldn't change many things because I'm not sure I would be any wiser. But other than partnership, what I would say is keeping the main thing, and the main thing is your clients, your paying clients. A lot of times along the journey, along the way, I have picked out things that looked cool for the business and not necessary for the client. And those things, once they stopped looking cool, they became a problem. Some of them include you buy an office car and you paint it with all the pictures of yourself and your company. And you ask yourself, how many people will actually give you a contract because of that car? Okay? And how much money have you put in that car? Right? So that's why I say keeping the main thing, the main thing. The main thing is the client, the paying client has a problem that you're solving. Keep understanding it more and more. And you realize that the client will be more willing to pay you more, and you'll also learn how to do it at a lower cost. So it's good for you, it's also good for the client. And more often than not, such relationships, the client does not send it back for bidding because the client is satisfied. You already have champions within who will push for you without you going to pitch. Expansion, what's the strategy? So two things we look out for expansion. One is a client is expanding there and has a big project and requires us to establish our operations. We look at how much, what's the size of the business, will it cover the cost of that, and then we go for it. The second is someone who is in our space and would like to work with us. So we ask them what opportunities they see. We also now go into the partnership analysis, right? How do we work with them? Do they meet our cultural interests? I'm going to come to your point about the exit and all that. So those are the two approaches we follow for expansion. Recovery process for myself from failure. We always do a recap on, especially big sale, like big contract pitching. We recap, why did we fail? On those areas we failed, can we work on that? Or it wasn't the time? If it wasn't the time, wait until we're ready, and then we go for it again. And there are contracts, by the way, some big contracts that we've pitched for like 5 times over 10 years. And in the 5th round, that's when they pick us. There are those we've also pitched for, and after 2 times, you realize they don't even come back to you. And you're like, these guys were not interested. And they keep going on, getting other people. But then they come back and ask you, but why don't you bid anymore? I say, but you don't give us feedback, so how can we improve? I say, no, okay, you come back. I say, no, unless the process is clear, we're not coming back. So we go in, we fail again, but this time it's clear, they're giving us feedback, then we win. So that's for the business. For me as a person, how I recover, I know every day there are chances of failure and success. Every day there are decisions you make. They don't turn out the way you wish. That's also a failure. So you pick it as is. You don't overweight, put weight on yourself that this was so bad. No, it wasn't bad. It was an option. You would either succeed or not. So this one, you lost. So, but over time, it eats into you. So you've got to go back and reboot. So my rebooting is, for sure, and Judy's telling you about my mountaineering. I always go. Every year I have to look for a mountain, because on the mountain, if you don't stop thinking about your problems, you will not come back. What do I mean? There are more problems that you're facing there, which if you don't survive them, you will never tell the story. So you stop thinking about these worldly problems and start thinking about the one in front of you. So by doing that, it clears your mind. It clears your mind. So that's how I recover. Books, a very important question. I'll give you 2, but I think, Judy, I'll come back to you. There are a couple of books I may not give you now, but 3 books. I would like to start with the first. It's a very interesting book that I only got to recently. It's called Chasing Daylight. Has anyone heard about it? Yeah. Chasing Daylight. Huh? About a guy who is dying. Yes. Read it. Read it. It teaches you how to keep the main thing the main thing. Okay? It's a very short book. The other is if you want to build your team and you're struggling, there is a book called Turn the Ship Around. It's about a submarine that was always failing. It was on the last, the American Navy does inspections of its fleet, and they rank on performance. They do inspections like ISO certification. I don't know whether any of you, I'm sure many of you have, but the manner in which they do inspections, they come and choose people randomly and ask them whether they know what they're doing and how they check, how they correct, how they do all those things. So this particular submarine, the team was always failing. So it was, if you were deployed to that submarine, it was known that, for you you're useless. Now, that's the only place you belong. So this guy who wrote the book, the chapter in the book is about the guy who turned that team around and came from the last. Now the US Navy is a big Navy, to being top. And they actually started using how they did it to train and to do management. Yeah, there are quite a few, but I think you can start with those. There's 2 more here. Sourcing people for startup. You don't need people to start. You need you. Just know, as I said to this brother of mine, keep the main thing the main thing. Anyone you work with should be helping you to stay focused. You don't need to have employees. You can ask people to commit their 1 hour or their 1 day, contract them for only that purpose. As I said, keep the main thing the main thing. Avoid the noise. Avoid the cheerleaders who keep building your ego. Those are very dangerous people. If you don't know how to manage ego, keep away from those people. Because those are the ones who build your failure into a crescendo. Much to their excitement, not to yours. The last one is partnerships. Good question. Exit strategy. Firstly, when you get married, do you think about the exit strategy? Okay, good. So let's start from there. So you know you're in it, right? You're in it until you die, right? And remember what I said earlier. Live till you die. So know that there is continuous challenge. But until you die, fix that challenge and keep on. That's the approach you need to adopt. And what do I mean here? You've got to have a shareholders agreement for a start, if otherwise a partnership agreement. It needs to be very articulate on the issues that you see now. Being nice is not a good thing. Being kind, I know there's a difference between the two, but don't try to be nice, right? Have integrity, not be nice. If I know that, as the example of me going to the mountain and asking Judy to come along, I only know she will stop where the climb begins. So be clear to her that your expectation is until that point. Anything beyond that, we come back to the drawing board. Be very clear. Don't try, as I said, to be nice, that you're going to bruise the ego. You'd rather bruise it now than later. The other thing that you should avoid, people have played golf. If you approach the ball and you think you're going to hook it right, you will hook it right. If you focus on, you want to hit it straight, and you focus straight, you will hit it straight. So when you get into a partnership, be very clear as to whether it's a short term, medium term, or long term. And again, if the situation changes, come back to the table. Make it very clear. One of the things that we do is, my principle about entering partnership is we're building the value of what we are creating. Anything that we conflict on that is not talking about the valuation is a non-issue. Anything that we conflict on that's talking about the valuation, we choose the alternative that increases the valuation. Period. Even if you bring 10 ideas and they're all crap, yes, they are. And once you're in, it's not your individual contributions that define the relationship. It's the team in that outfit that determines the growth. It's not what you two bring in. No, it's what is in there. And let me expound on this. There are so many friends that have that we've interacted with. They come together, two companies come together, they form a third, and then they say, but this person was supposed to bring money, this person was supposed to bring deals. So what is that? Why did you form the third party? This third party should look for its own money. This third party should look for its own business. If you're bringing in money, it's a loan. If I don't have money to lend you because I'm getting money, more interest elsewhere, I'm not going to lend you. That's it. You shouldn't force me to bring in money. You come together because of the potential value creation. Money does not create value. Money is, if it's $1, it's $1, unless you're going to manufacture. But it's $1. It doesn't create another dollar. No, it's what you use it for that creates either 2 cents or $1 extra, or whatever else. So when going into a partnership, it's down to the person you're working with. Again, it's down to a partner, selection of a partner. My last point is on how to identify a partner. I don't know of books on that, but I think counseling may be a good start. Prayer to give you wisdom, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. I think it's been a fantastic, I think we need to really give him a standing ovation and thank him for that. Patrick, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you for your time. I think we've learned a lot, and we are very grateful. We are going to be better for this. We invite you to come and attend church with us on Sunday. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Dunstan, anything else from you? No? Okay. Thank you and have a good evening. Thank you.
It's going to fall. Sorry.